So here we go again with liberals being liberals. And their latest rant that they're on now, their big protest in Chicago, where they're raging against ICE, because ICE is, and I guess this is the thing that just amazes me. And I've said this before. They still haven't learned anything since November 5. Donald Trump won overwhelmingly because we want the southern border closed and we want the illegals gone. It's literally that simple. But you have these people, these liberals, who just refuse to go with the tide of America. And they are right now, they're protesting in Chicago because they want their illegals to be safe, and they're going to say things like, it's against their due process rights. Well, they're illegals. They're criminals from the moment they walk across. I'm really not sure how much the due process rights belong to them. They're here illegally. They're not citizens, because the due process rights belong to the citizens of the United States. So I'm not sure that really applies to them. And they say things, they're great people. They're not hurting anybody. The only thing that's hurting people is Donald Trump. The usual rhetoric we heard for the 4 years when he was president, that continued on for the 4 years of Joey bribes and drinks on the House Harris, the absolute worst president and vice president in my lifetime. But it's funny because they never mention, not one time do these liberals mention about all the criminals that are coming over here. They don't say anything about the fact that for the first time in history, we have a criminal stat for crime. They don't mention that. They don't mention anything about all the girls that have been raped, all the women that have been killed, all the men that have been killed, the cops that have been attacked and killed by the illegal criminals. They don't mention any of that. And here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you right now, none of these people personally, the people protesting, have not been affected by it. Because the liberals they're key for not in my backyard. They are absolutely the best at that. Because as long as it's not happening to them, then we're all for it. But I guarantee you, if you take any one of these ladies protesting, if their child had been killed by an illegal, they would be singing a 180-degree opposite tune. And they would be on their high horse to get the illegals out of here. So basically, all this tells me is as long as it's your daughter getting raped and killed, it's okay. We're cool with it because it's not mine. And as long as it's not mine, I don't care. And that's how liberals think. And that's why they lost the election. And they still have not figured that out. They still haven't figured it out. So this video is kind of long, but you need to watch this. This is absolutely insane to me. Fox News did this, and they posted this up on the ground in Chicago where protesters rage against ICE. You've got to see this, and I'm going to play the whole thing in its entirety because this is just mind-boggling to me.
Here peacefully demonstrating to demonstrate our opposition to Donald Trump's fascist agenda.
He's a fascist. Okay.
I believe in open borders.
Well, we can't have an invasion, but surely, people coming here to produce, to work, to be citizens, that America was based upon that after we wiped out the indigenous people.
I live near new Venezuelan immigrants, and they are my friends, and I support them here in Chicago, and I want them to stay.
I think raids are clearly a violation of people's due process. Immigrants pose no real threat to us. The Trump administration is actually who poses real threats, and the billionaires' agenda is what is actually going to hurt the working class.
We're also here because we want to protect our immigrant neighbors and our LGBTQ neighbors.
How do you feel about ICE being in Chicago right now?
Scared, nervous, worried. I have a lot of empathy for folks who are scared about this.
CTU has advocated for years for Chicago Public Schools to be a sanctuary zone, which it currently is. So we don't cooperate with ICE, and we don't allow them into our school buildings.
Here in Chicago, ICE has mainly been working to demobilize and terrorize working people who are extremely vulnerable.
ICE put out a statement that they're specifically targeting violent criminal migrants. Have you heard about this?
That's a lie.
Can you tell me why you believe that's a lie?
Because we've seen it. We know. We've seen testimonies. We've seen people actually being targeted. Not only now, but definitely highlighting, what's happening now.
Do you have an example of this?
I'm not going to be specifics.
The immigrant population, whether they are recent migrants or longtime residents, statistics show that they are very unlikely to commit crimes. They are the least likely, really, among the populations in the U.S.
I've actually seen a lot of ICE arrests because they don't know what they are doing, because their goal is not to keep people safe. Their goal is to be an instrument of terror. And ICE is a direct descendant of Stalin's secret police.
I think that ICE kind of says whatever they want, and I'm waiting to see what actions they do.
Innocent until proven guilty. And if someone is so guilty of some crime, I assume they're incarcerated right now.
That's a farce. I mean, I think that is a ploy for them to try to get more access to our communities, and I think that we should stand against any intervention from ICE.
Well, I don't feel that ICE is being truthful when they're saying they're going against suspected criminals, because there's always innocent people standing by, and those innocent people will get swept up. Legal citizens of the United States will get swept up, and that would be an injustice. The ACLU will get involved.
People who've been charged with a felony currently aren't able to immigrate.
I don't support criminals, but I support immigrants.
I don't think those people exist.
Now, that's just amazing to me. Guilty until proven innocent. Well, hang on now. You're a criminal as soon as you come across our border illegally. So you're guilty. Right out of the gate, you're guilty. But you're a liberal. And liberals simply don't understand how things work in a real world. You know, and one of them called Donald Trump, he's a fascist. He's the one that's truly going to hurt the middle class. Really? Well, do we need to go back over the last 4 years of Joe Biden and the destruction, the dismantlement of the middle class that he did? Do we need to really talk about that again with the liberals? Because apparently they just think everything was honky-dory under Joe Biden. They liked, let me rephrase that. They loved paying 30% more for everything in the world. They enjoyed it. Absolutely enjoyed it. They loved record insurance premiums. They love record high insurance costs, record high food costs, record high energy costs. Apparently they love that, because who that affects is the middle class. Because the poor people who get a lot of the government handouts and stuff, it doesn't affect them as much because they don't have to go to work and try to make ends meet. And don't get me wrong, they're still affected, and I'm not washing that by any stretch of the imagination. But it doesn't affect the wealthy because, hell, they don't care. They're wealthy. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the wealthy got extremely wealthy under Joe Biden. Extremely wealthy under Joe Biden. Make no bones about it. And until Donald Trump got in, because you hear about, then the billionaires, the billionaire class, you mean the billionaire class that literally every one of them were liberals until Donald Trump got elected? Every one of them supported Joe Biden. Jeff Bezos, Joe Biden. Tim Cook, Joe Biden. Bill Gates, Joe Biden. The entirety of BlackRock, Joe Biden. Soros, Joe Biden. Do I need to keep going? Now, a lot of these people, because of Joe Biden's completely insane woke DEI initiatives, a lot of these people, a lot of these billionaires, when Trump got elected, he's like, you know what? We're done with DEI. We're out. We're done. And I'm going to tell you what happened. A lot of the billionaires jumped over to Donald Trump because they're like, thank God. Because now, I'm going to tell you now, you own a small business. You hire one of these LGBTQ trans people, you'd better be careful what you do, because anything you say will be used against you and you will be sued. So you better be very careful. And I'm not saying don't hire them. I'm not saying, that you need to, move we can't have any of them. They're bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you got to be careful, because I've heard of too many horror stories of people I have talked to that hired one of these people that get their feelings hurt by everything. And they're like, dude, we can't say anything. Literally nobody talks to him because they're afraid, he comes to work as a girl. You call him a guy, boom, you just got your ass suit off. He's a guy. So it's very detrimental to business to have a lot of these people, these weirdo liberals in your business. Very detrimental to them. So when Donald Trump came up and said no more DEI, the billionaires rejoiced because it's going to save them a lot of headache and a lot of money. A lot of money. Because Joe Biden was forcing the DEI initiatives on a lot of these big businesses, and they are dropping this shit faster than you can imagine. Companies are tossing DEI out left and right. They're firing their DEI, whatever they call them, the head of the DEI department. They're firing all those people. They're firing the employees. They're shutting down the departments. They're going away because this is nothing but a headache for a business. So, if you want to get into the workforce, just be normal. Just be a normal person. If you want to be a girl and your name is really John, be a girl after work. Why take that into the workplace and cause problems and make other people uncomfortable? Because at the end of the day, that's what they are. I mean, I know people who've worked with trans people, and they've come up and told me that, hey, I got to be honest, it's a little uncomfortable working around them. I don't know if I should do that. I'm going to scrap all that, and I'm going to come back in on the end of this. And there you have it. The liberals being liberals. One of them said, Donald Trump's a fascist. How many years have we been hearing that story? I mean, we already know that that's a complete moronic, idiotic liberal statement that they love to go back to. Because what a true fascist does is they limit what you can and cannot say. And who's doing that? It's not Donald Trump, but it sure as hell was Joe Biden. He did it. Remember Elon Musk, the whole Twitter X saga? And did you not see Mark Zuckerberg just coming forward and saying, hey, Joe Biden made me do it. The government made me do it. They made me censor Republicans. So that's fascism. Or, hey, you know what? In 5 years, you can no longer drive a gas car. You will drive an electric car. Even though it doesn't suit your lifestyle, you're going to drive it anyway because we're going to make your decisions for you. That's fascism. That is not Donald Trump. And it just boggles my mind when these liberals call him a fascist because they have no, and I'm going to tell you right now, you show me one liberal, one of these protesters that actually knows what fascism is, I will give them $100. Because I can tell you right now, they have no idea what fascism is. Because if they understood what fascism is, and they would think, whoa, maybe I shouldn't call Donald Trump a fascist, because when you're really looking at what fascism is, that kind of describes the Democrat Party to a T. To a T, that describes the Democrat Party. And then the thing that gets me is liberals, nobody's better at not in my backyard than a liberal. Absolutely nobody. Now, I don't know, and you may or may not know this, but a few years ago, when we were coming out of COVID, the whole sanctuary city thing was starting to come about with all the illegals pouring across our border, all the criminals, because as soon as they come over illegally, they're a criminal. If you don't like it, tough shit. They're criminals the day they step foot on American soil without going through the legal process. They broke the law, hence criminal, plain and simple. So, they were in San Diego, doing their whole sanctuary city. We want to protect our immigrants. We want to do this. So then the government in California steps up and says, hey, we're going to put a huge building right here in the middle of downtown San Diego, a place to harbor all the homeless. And, we can put some of the immigrants in there. And what do you think happened? San Diego, the citizens of San Diego shut that shit down immediately. Because not in my backyard. As long as it's in your backyard, I'm good. I'm for it. I support it 100%. But as soon as it affects me, I can't have anything to do with it. No. And you hear all these protesters, these hypocrites, because they're all hypocrites. The immigrants, it's more likely for somebody else in America to cause a crime than an immigrant. For the first time in the history of our country, we literally have an immigrant crime statistic. First time ever. Now, it's more likely because there's a hell of a lot more Americans here. You take all the white and black people, all of us that have been here for generations, and you compare it to all the illegals, well, hell yeah, there's hundreds of millions more. So chances are, yeah, you're going to commit a crime. But I guarantee you, if you start looking at this statistically, if Donald Trump actually looks at this statistically right now, as opposed to the amount of illegals here committing crime, and I'm talking all crime, as opposed to the Americans committing crime, I guarantee you it's pretty much on par. I will bet you any amount of money. And then let's do one on violent crime. And I guarantee you, the illegals, they take the lead on that one. Guaranteed. But here's the deal. None of these people have personally been affected by it. We want to protect our immigrants. We want to protect them. We want to keep them safe. Okay, let one of these immigrants kill your daughter. Let them rape and kill your daughter. And I guarantee you that happens. Any one of these hypocrite, liberal nutbags will instantly change their tune. And they will be the first one standing in line. They got to go. They got to go. Because the thing that amazes me is they want to protect their immigrants. They want to protect them. They could care less about the family, Lake and Riley. They don't care. They don't care one iota about that. You know what? Well, that's her daughter that got raped and killed. So I don't care. I don't care because it's not my daughter. And since it's not my daughter, I'm all good. And that is the problem I have with liberals. They are the biggest hypocrites in the world when it comes to this. And I said it in my last video or the video before. America first. We cannot help anybody until we help ourselves. And right now, we need a tremendous amount of help. And the only way we can get this ship righted and back on track is we've got to stop liberalism at all costs. Liberalism is a cancer on America. Don't believe me? Look at the last 4 years. Look at what has gone on. Inflation through the roof. The price of everything through the roof. Our southern border being overrun by illegal criminals. I don't even call them immigrants anymore. They're criminals. If you want to be an immigrant, you come through legally. If you don't come through legally, you're a criminal. It's not that hard to understand. You know, we've had it 4 years in a society of men wearing tucked bikinis and teachers telling little boys, well, you're really a little girl. You just don't know it yet. Take these pills. This is what's been going on the last 4 years. Insanity. We voted for Donald Trump to stop idiots like this. We voted for Donald Trump because we don't want the immigrants, the criminals. We don't want them here anymore. I don't give a shit if they pick fruit. I don't care if they sweep floors. I don't care. And guess what? If you have a business and your business might fold because of all the illegals you hire, well, sorry, you're out of business. Hire some damn Americans, all right? Well, Americans won't do the job for that price. Then maybe you need to pay them more. Or maybe you just need to do something to make it worthwhile for somebody to do the job. But what's really going on is instead of paying American $20 an hour, you know you can pay an illegal $7 an hour to do the same job, and that's more money in your pocket. And that's truly what's going on here. Let's be honest. It's truly what's going on. But we hired Donald Trump to stop the insanity, to stop the criminal element coming across. And you had that one girl, well, we see it. We read about it. We see it. And then they ask her. And this is one thing I love about liberals, man. As soon as you start talking about facts, they're gone. They're checked out. They ask her, can you give me an example? Well, I'm not going to go into specifics because you have no specifics. You have none. All you're doing is babbling like an idiot about a talking point that you heard from another liberal who heard it from some other liberal higher up than him in the status quo, who heard it from another liberal higher up than him that it drizzled down from somebody in Congress or some shit like that. And that's literally how it spreads. That's how it spreads. And the liberals, being liberals, never do research. They don't know what research is. They instantly go out and start repeating that lie over and over and over and over. And that is why we voted for Donald Trump. That is why we want the criminals out of here. We don't want our daughters raped anymore. We don't want them killed anymore. We want a society that returns back to normal in a world that can be safe, where maybe everybody that's here legally can just get along.